What if I told you that September could bring you a boost in your Social Security, SSI, or SSDI payments, amounts ranging anywhere from about $1,900 to as much as $5,100? That's not hype, and it's not rumor. It's based on the real payment schedules and updates from the Social Security Administration. If you're living on a fixed income, you already know that every single dollar matters. Groceries, rent, medical bills, even just the basics of everyday life seem to cost more every month, so hearing about a larger check coming your way is something worth paying attention to. Now, here's the truth. While many people online toss around big numbers without explanation, what really matters is knowing exactly who qualifies, how these payment amounts are calculated, and when you can expect to see them hit your bank account or mailbox. That's where most folks get lost, because the SSA system is complicated, and each program, retirement, SSI, and SSDI, has different rules. What looks like good news in a headline doesn't mean much unless you know how it applies to your specific situation. For example, the average Social Security retirement payment might land closer to $1,900, but that figure changes depending on your earnings history and whether you delayed claiming benefits. On the higher end, people who maximize their work credits and retirement age can see checks above $5,000. But then there's SSI, which is needs-based and comes with a completely different formula. SSDI, on the other hand, depends on your work record before disability, and many beneficiaries there will see amounts in between. The key takeaway is this: September's updates are more than just numbers. They represent an opportunity to understand your benefits better, to catch mistakes in your paperwork if something looks off, and to plan your budget with confidence instead of crossing your fingers. This isn't about chasing rumors. It's about real, practical information that affects your life directly. So let's break down the truth about these payments, how they're scheduled, and what you need to know to make sure you don't miss out. When you hear about payments ranging from $1,900 to over $5,000, it can sound almost too good to be true, but the reality is these numbers are part of how the Social Security Administration distributes benefits each month. To understand it, you first need to look at the way payments are scheduled. Social Security doesn't just send out one big batch of checks on the same day to everyone. Instead, payments are staggered throughout the month based on factors like your birthday, the type of benefit you're receiving, and sometimes whether you started collecting before or after a certain year. That's why some people might have already received their September payment while others are still waiting. Knowing your exact schedule helps you plan ahead instead of being caught off guard wondering when your money will show up. Now, let's talk about those dollar amounts more closely. The figure of about $1,900 is generally tied to the average monthly retirement benefit. That means if you worked most of your life and paid into Social Security through payroll taxes, that's around what the typical retiree is seeing. But remember, averages can be misleading because some people collect much less and others collect much more. For those who delayed claiming until their late 60s or even age 70, the benefit amount rises, sometimes significantly. That's how some retirees end up with payments that reach into the $4,000 or even $5,000 range each month. It's not magic, it's the result of higher lifetime earnings combined with waiting longer to claim. Understanding how those factors fit together can help you see why the range between $1,900 and $5,100 is so wide. But retirement isn't the only piece of the puzzle. SSI, or Supplemental Security Income, plays a completely different role. This program is for people with very limited income and resources. The payment levels are lower, but they're critical for those who qualify because they cover the essentials. The key point for September is that even SSI payments follow a predictable schedule, usually hitting on the first of the month unless that falls on a weekend or holiday. If you rely on SSI, knowing those exact dates helps you avoid unnecessary stress. And for SSDI recipients, the story is a little different again. Your benefit is based on your past work history before you became disabled. That means two people on SSDI might have very different checks, one closer to $1,000 and another closer to $3,000, depending on their earnings history. In September, SSDI payments follow the same staggered schedule as retirement benefits, but it's important to remember that the amount you see reflects the work credits you earned before disability, not just a flat standard payment. Another reason September feels especially important is that we're moving closer to the end of the year, which is when talk about cost of living adjustments really heats up. The COLA for 2025 will be announced in October, and many seniors are eager to know how much their checks might rise in January. Even though this video is about September's payments, it's impossible not to connect the dots because how you view your benefits today often depends on what you expect for tomorrow. With inflation having been a big topic in recent years, even small changes in COLA can have a huge effect on seniors' ability to pay bills. So while the numbers we're seeing this month may feel stable, people are already wondering what next year will bring. That's why September is such a good time to check your My Social Security account online, make sure your information is up to date, and get familiar with your current benefit so you'll immediately notice any changes when the COLA kicks in. Let's also clear up some confusion about those higher payments, the ones over $5,000. Not everyone is going to see a check that size, and it's important to be realistic. To get into that range, you would need a very strong lifetime earnings record, meaning you worked many years at a high income level while paying Social Security taxes. On top of that, you would likely have waited until 70 to claim benefits, which gives you the maximum increase. For most Americans, that's not the case, but that doesn't mean you can't maximize what you are entitled to. Sometimes the difference of just waiting a year or two to claim or making sure you don't miss out on spousal or survivor benefits can add up to hundreds more each month. And when you multiply that over years of retirement, the impact is massive. September is a good time to look back at your own work history, confirm your earnings record is accurate, and think about whether you claimed at the right time or if you might still have options to adjust. For those on SSDI, there are unique challenges this month too. One of the biggest issues is how working while disabled interacts with your benefits. SSA allows what's called a trial work period, where you can test the waters and try working without immediately losing benefits. But the rules are very specific, and if you don't track your earnings carefully, you could find yourself owing money back. September is often a month where people consider part-time or seasonal jobs heading into the holidays, and that's why it's critical to know exactly what the income limits are for SSDI and how they affect your eligibility. Losing benefits unexpectedly is a nightmare scenario for many families, but it's avoidable if you stay informed. Veterans who also receive Social Security should pay close attention right now too. While VA disability benefits generally do not reduce Social Security, there can be overlaps in other areas, especially if you're receiving income-based assistance. Understanding how the two systems talk to each other can prevent headaches later. In September, some veterans may see both SSA and VA payments arrive close together, which makes it even more important to track your deposits and confirm everything lines up with your award letters. Double-checking your bank account statements against the official payment schedule can catch errors early, and while mistakes are rare, they do happen. Another point worth stressing is that Social Security overpayments are not uncommon, and they can show up months or even years after the fact. Imagine opening your mail in September and finding a letter saying you've been overpaid and now owe several $1,000s back. For someone on a fixed income, that's devastating. The best defense is to be proactive. Report any changes in your situation right away, whether it's income, living arrangements, or anything else the SSA requires. September is a great time to review your paperwork, call SSA if you're unsure about something, and get ahead of potential problems before they become bigger. Taxes also play a role here, even if you don't think about them until spring. Up to 85% of your Social Security benefits can be taxable if your total income crosses certain thresholds. That includes not just Social Security, but pensions, wages, and even interest from savings. Planning in September means you won't be caught off guard when tax season comes around. Some people even choose to have taxes withheld directly from their checks to avoid a big bill later. It's worth considering as you look at your September payments and think about your broader financial picture. And let's not ignore the scams. Every month, seniors are targeted by phone calls, texts, or emails pretending to be from the SSA. In September, scammers know people are expecting their checks, so they ramp up their efforts. They may say your number is suspended, your benefits are frozen, or you owe money. Remember this rule: The SSA will not call you out of the blue to demand payment or personal information. If you get a call like that, hang up. Check your mail for official letters or log into your account online. Protecting your identity is just as important as protecting your income, because once scammers get hold of your information, the damage can be lasting. As we close in on the end of September, it's worth taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture. These payments, whether they're $1,900, $3,000, or $5,100, are more than just numbers on a page. They represent security, stability, and peace of mind. They allow you to cover the essentials, maybe set a little aside, or just know you won't fall behind. That's why every detail matters, from knowing your exact payment date to understanding how COLA works, from keeping an eye on taxes to avoiding scams. The system may be complicated, but with the right knowledge, you can navigate it successfully. So, as you look at your September payments, take the time to review your situation carefully. Double-check your benefit amount, compare it against your award letter, make sure no mistakes have slipped through. If you're on SSI or SSDI, confirm you're within the income limits and that you've reported everything correctly. If you're a retiree, think about whether your claiming strategy has worked out as you expected. And for everyone, remember that October will bring new announcements about COLA, which means change is just around the corner. The more prepared you are now, the smoother those changes will be when they arrive.